Welcome back. Today I'm going to be guiding you through popular methods as to how to better attain good habits and alter those habits that you already have, be they good or be they maladaptive. I decided to do this video as I noticed a ASMR content creator was going through some problems with cravings, which is related to habit, to instinct. I won't mention their name here, just in case they don't want to be mentioned, though maybe dependent on their response I will put a link in the description or mention them, something like that. My knowledge about habit and habit formation come from a variety of different sources. Some of it comes from knowledge that I have attained from reading books on habit, such as Atomic Habits by James Clear. But my knowledge mainly comes from studying occupational therapy at university. In our degree, there is a component related to psychology, and there are other components related to habit formation, and that's mainly where I reference my knowledge from. So don't expect references to all of my lectures and lecturers in the description. I'll probably just put a link to Atomic Habits. To accurately manipulate your habits, you need to know how they work, of course. Most models surrounding conceptualization of how habit formation and habits work involves some sort of 3-step process. Usually you'll start with a cue, an antecedent, as some people call it in habit for terminology, and it'll be the thing which triggers you to start the behavior. Then you'll have the behavior, the response, whatever it is that you do, and then you'll have the outcome of that action. It can be a reward, but it'll be the consequence. So, the most common example, and I think the easiest to apply, is a wanting to eat junk food, something which you know is not healthy, but you still want to eat. Okay, well, you understand that you don't want to continue this behavior, but on some more animalistic level, you do want to continue. And thus there is a separation between your intellectual mind and your animal mind. So how can the intellectual mind take over? Well, you can't get rid of your instincts. That's something that people have to learn, sadly, is that we can't live purely in intellect, but we are also human animals, and that's an aspect of our nature which is inescapable. So, that being said, the first step, of course, is to identify your cues. Be working along systematically. Start with the cues, your antecedent. What makes you start this behavior? If you're hungry for junk food, why is it? Are you bored? It's very common. Did you just get home from work? Are you stressed? Are you sad? What time of day is it? Is it 3 or 4 p.m. and you're having a natural sugar craving as your blood sugars dive after lunch? Are you just hungry? Do you eat junk food every time you watch a movie? Is it because you're spending time at your desk? Are there other people home? All of these things are applicable to any sort of antecedent or cue. Think about the situation which leads you to start the behavior. Of course, this is not only applicable when concerning eating junk food. It may be using recreational drugs, it may be alcohol, it may be adaptive or positive habits such as exercise or eating good food. Once you've identified the cues, the first step is usually to minimize them. It takes a while to change your negative habits to positive ones, and thus, when you're just starting out, it's best to try and minimize your response until you have positive ones. Because positive habits give you an incremental increase, an interest over time. But negative ones compound negatively. They spiral down very quickly. Eating badly can put you in bad shape very quick, but eating well improves you to a much slower degree. Thus, it's better to minimize harm than it is to move in a positive direction. But, of course, the end goal is to move in a positive direction, and we'll get there. You may be wondering, why can't we completely get rid of the behavior? Well, behaviors are automated responses. They happen without taking much energy because your brain has a neurological system of cells linked together to tell you to operate in a certain way under certain conditions. This is a habit. It's a very solid neurological structure, and it's very difficult to rewire. The more you do the habit, the stronger the connections between your neurons are. You have kind of octopus-like cells in your brain called neurons, and they connect via little tentacles. And the more connections they have, and the more used they are, the stronger that they exist in your brain, and the harder they are to lose. Strong memory, therefore, and strong knowledge have strong and abundant connections. And a behavior is an extremely strong connection. That's why once you've developed a behavior, it's very difficult to delete it altogether, and thus the best thing to do is to alter it to be positive. The next step you know what your cue is, and you'll already have a basic idea of what you do, your behavior. You go and eat food. At this point, you go and eat junk food. But this is where modification can take place. Instead of eating some junk food, when you feel the craving, when you feel the hunger, you go and eat good food. You eat something which is less calorically dense and higher in fiber and minerals and nutrients, instead of a packet of chips, or as my American friends say, crisps. You would pick up an apple, something which is voluminous, which would fill up your stomach, provide you with good nutrients and vitamins, and because of the fiber content, will help your health and make you full. It may be difficult to do if you readily have access to food which you crave, so you may have to minimize your access. If you have junk food that's readily accessible, if you have drugs or alcohol, then you're going to reach for them. So the first step is to remove them and to make sure there's no regular way which you will attain more. This is a step which will require some energy, but it's what you need to do to set the good habit. After doing this and feeling the behavior start again, you sit down at your computer, you open Netflix or YouTube, and you feel bored, you don't know what to do, and then you start thinking of getting some chocolate, some chips, something like that. Then you go, you stand up, and then you eat an apple in place of where you would have eaten something, that is not as good for your health. After a while, you get used to this, and then an interesting thing begins to happen. Your brain adapts, and you begin to start craving what you've been using to answer your craves. After a while, when you sit down, you'll be thinking about wanting to have an apple. Strangely enough, this is how habits seem to work. The difficult period is, as in most things, starting. And so, I challenge you to start. I'd like to close this video by providing for you a little positive sentiment. If you're struggling with any sort of maladaptive negative habit, I can assure you that many people are also struggling and have struggled and have successfully gone over it. Your feelings may be strong, but your feelings are not indicative of reality. Just because you feel a certain way does not mean that the universe or you actually are in that state. Things change, time passes, and things move on. Remember that you are loved, you are capable of being loved, and you are capable of loving. Thank you for watching, and good night.